Now, was a fierce contest of ideas in the Senate at Wednesday's plenary after some northern senators vehemently opposed attempts to invite tax experts into the chamber to brief lawmakers on the controversial tax reform bills. After being ruled out on 3 separate attempts to stop the impromptu exercise, the northern senators, including Senator Ali Ndume, stormed out of the chamber. They only returned after being persuaded by their colleagues. Arise correspondent Omo Bazoye has more.
Trouble started after the Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele asked the Senate to suspend its rules and allow visiting tax experts, including the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, into the chamber during Wednesday's plenary. The Senate leader instantly followed with Order 1B, which allows the Senate to regulate its own procedures.
The essence of this is for them to come and speak to the integrity of the tax reform bills and to also enable our colleagues ask questions.
Instantly, the first opposition came from Senator Abdul Ningi from Bauchi Central, who points out that the privilege cannot be extended to the tax experts and that they should be invited to brief the Committee on Appropriations instead.
I don't see anywhere whereby the senators should allow these people to come here and make the kind of interactions they so want. However, committees of the Senate and Appropriation can invite for the interaction of this manner.
But presiding Deputy President of the Senate, Barao Jibril, swiftly intervened, trying to impress it on Senator Ningi that the waiver being sought for the drafters of the tax reform bills is to allow them speak openly to Nigerians about the tax bills and end once and for all the contentious aspects of the proposed tax bills. He then ruled Senator Ningi out of order, admitting the motion from the Senate leader to allow the guests in.
We should also educate ourselves about the bill, and in that respect, the motion has been moved by the leader and seconded by my majority leader. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Not satisfied, Senator Ali Ndume fired the next salvo to stop the visitors from being allowed on the grounds that the item is not listed on the order paper and as such violates Senate business rules.
Mr. President, you will have your way, but I can have my say. You can use the gavel and I will use my voice. This thing is very sensitive. Our people have been dominated by this matter.
Senator Ndume was also ruled out of order. But moments later, Ndume returned, asking the presiding officer to withdraw the use of words against him and apologize.
You sitting there to say it's rhetorics, I think it's very unfortunate and you should apologize.
It's not an offense. Nobody used that against you. In the context it was used, it wasn't used against you. It was a general statement. I therefore rule out of order.
Again, Ndume was ruled out of order, and he was seen packing his stuff to leave. He was prevailed upon to stay back, even as the Senate proceeded on the briefing by the tax reform team. Omo Bazoye, Arise News.
Well, the Rise News analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss the ethno-religious undertones debate under the tax reform bills and the need for a dispassionate consideration of the bills in the interest of Nigeria's economy. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale. Many thanks for being here.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure of being here, Susan.
Of course, we watched that together, and
you can see
you had some exclamations.
Dispassionate about it.
Absolutely.
Very,
What's your take?
Angry, and that is the arrogance and the mood of the North on Nigerian issues. You see, the best example I will give before we go to the topic was the reception General Gawan gave to Northern Democrats, a body led by Shekarau. And General Gawan was trying to talk to them about unity and about how we fought the civil war, about how sectional interests were prevailing, but he overcame all that. You get me? And that these people visiting him, he was telling them, whatever they do, they should do it in the interest of Nigerian unity. But when their leader was going to respond to Gawan, he said they are only interested in northern unity. Northern unity. That is the expression of that. The way that senator spoke, as if he was above everybody. You are asked, even the deputy president is a northerner. Mm-hmm. Those people, they are all northerners. So that is the problem we have. When one section of the country feels it is superior or it is born to rule, you have this sort of aggravation. You see, it is even the Senate deputy president explaining to him that rhetoric is general. It's not personal at you. But you see, you fuming with anger.
Absolutely.
You cannot run Nigeria like that. You see, the tax bill is meant to correct some imbalance. In fact, those who are talking about restructuring, they should go and read the presentation that the president sent to the Senate, and which is discussed all over the place. It is meant to readjust areas of imbalance so that as a federation, nobody is not left out. See, the principle I will think is behind the proposal of the president is this diversity, inclusion, and equity, which the Biden administration practiced wrongly in the U.S. and lost election. Get me? But that is what is inherent in that tax reform. That other parts of the country should not suffer at the expense of others, and that unduly one part of the country should not subsidize unnecessarily at the peril to its own economic growth other parts of the country. So let us deal with each other in fairness and with equity. Do you get me? Unlike what that senator demonstrated there. I'm sure he was ruled out. I'm happy he was ruled out of order. So there's sanity there. Such people should be called to order. Let's leave it at that for now.
Well said, Mr. Sobowale. I appreciate your call for fairness and equity.
Yeah.
But wondering how you think policymakers can effectively depoliticize the technical economic aspects of these tax reforms?
Well, the technicalities are there, but there is nothing sacrosanct. It's not cast in stone. You get me? It should be. See, if you want to tax people, you don't tax them out of their means of livelihood. And when you tax people, well, you make sure the tax revenue is used for their welfare.
Absolutely.
You get me? And there should be no multiple taxation. But essentially, what this thing is about, this value-added tax, that is what it is all about. We all know that it's been lopsided all along. And so now trying to rebalance it. What is obviously the North has benefited more than the South. But does that mean that should be in perpetuity? See, we have left 1940 when Lugard can come and speak or intervene on behalf of the North. Lugard is very dead. It's a century old now as a Nigerian entity. The time when they created Nigeria so that the revenue of the South should be used to grow the North as part. The North has always been in power. What has it done to its own people? What has it done to its own people? So, if we have the opportunity, like the present government is doing, to redress some imbalances in our federal system, we better see the opportunity to do it and not be blackmailed by people who think the country will collapse if they are not in charge. It's not on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very well said, Mr. Sobowale. And this is a question I often ask you about the global examples, that any international comparative insights that could possibly inspire or help Nigeria navigate this politically charged economic policy discussions.
You saw the last American election. You saw the policy of Biden administration, diversity, inclusion, and equity, which they used to fight history. You get me? Saying that the white people are responsible for all America's problems, and the Christians too are domestic terrorists. Sex, there's no man, no woman. Your child can suddenly say, you can identify with any sex. And they do things with their genitals. They sold out about the field. Even right now, as we are talking, Trump has not taken over. They are dismantling all those ideas. Even Walmart, the biggest consumer stores, is changing it. It's changing everything they are doing. They are recruiting women to go and do combat duty. This is what the issues in the American election. It's the electorate that must determine issues in a federation, and things should balance. We should learn from American things so that we don't become as divided on sex and orientation like they are. That is why this sort of debate going on in the Senate, I admire it, and I give kudos to the Deputy President of the Senate, who was very much in charge to protect our federation, our federalism.
Great example and wonderful analysis as always. Arise News analyst, Mr. Dayo Sobowale, thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday. Thank you.